Hello, this is Brian Hegney, Instructor of Communication at High Point University. We're going to go over setting up our planes for our reference planes. Right now I've got just one, and we just aligned it to the very bottom, so that's fine. Or we aligned its pivot point to the very bottom of it, and we have it set to 0, so that's perfect. The next thing I want to do now is a little bit complicated. I'm going to place an image on here, but what we have to do is actually create a material. And the material, you can hit M and pull up the material editor, or you can click this icon up here at the top of your toolbar, material editor. Okay? I already have a couple materials. This could be clear. This is our little slate editor. If you see a tutorial, by the way, that uses a completely different setup, there are two modes for this material editor. One is compact, one is slate. This is the slate. It's supposed to mimic a lot of game engines these days where we have our little visual scripting area up here where we connect nodes to nodes. The old way where I learned like 20 years ago was compact material editor. It's just if you click it, it turns into what I'm actually more comfortable with in 3D Studio Max, but I'm not going to use it because I want to get to know the Slate material editor. Okay, so we'll be using Slate. If anyone's showing you any different, there is one reason. I forgot why that is. There are some times where the Slate material, the compact, is actually better, and I don't know off the top of my head when that is. I forgot. All right, so number one, we're going to create a material. I like creating multi-sub-object materials, and I'm just going to let you know that's a way to get one single material to contain multiple materials in it, and we can use all of them whenever we want. And I'm going to show you where that is. Number one, it's in materials. Notice if we have materials, maps, controllers, scene materials, sample slots. Notice these sample slots are from like the olden days. Okay. We're going to go into materials, and we're going to click on general. And in general, there's something called multi-sub-object. That means there's multiple materials. Okay. Left click and drag this into our little view area and let go. Oh, that's so tiny. Zoom in using your middle mouse wheel and hold down middle mouse wheel and move around to kind of pan. And this is called material 12. Well, let's go ahead and double click this. And all of this information stuff comes up. Oh, whoops. Uh-oh. There we go. Select it. And when you double click this, it shows up the material name right here. And I'm going to highlight that material name right off the bat and call it reference planes and hit enter. The next thing I want to do is set the number because we don't need 10 of them slots. Each one of these is a separate material. So I'm going to click set number and type in 2. Say OK. And now there's only 2 slots. Perfect. Slot 1, I'm going to click none. When you click none, none basically means, hey, there's nothing here, but would you like to set it? Yes, I would. I'm going to set it to under materials, click, you can minimize general and come to scanline and type in standard or double click standard. It's a standard material. Whoops, move this over. Once again, I'm going to double click material number 13 and I'm going to call this front view over here. Okay. And I'm just going to keep this here. And the simplest way to go about creating this material is I'm going to come under diffuse. Diffuse is like, what does this material look like with 0 lighting? No shading, no highlights, no specular, no nothing. No reflections, just what does the diffuse material look like? And this is where we'll put our image here. So I'm going to click none. And that's basically saying, is there a bitmap associated with it? This little square right here, to the right of the diffuse, okay? And we're going to go under maps. So maps are 2D images. So these are our 2D textures that we've created in Photoshop. And I'm going to twirl down general, and I'm going to click on bitmap. That just means is it a JPEG or something like that? Doesn't have to be a .bmp, it just needs to be a 2D digital image. So I'm going to double click bitmap, and I'm going to navigate in my PC to where I have mine. Mine is in D drive for Hagney, 2019 spring, 3432, Robert, textures, right? And there it is. So I'm just going to click front, say open. And from here, I have to kind of maneuver my images a little bit. Whoopsie. What I do is I drag from this node in my material editor into my scene and let go, and it's going to place that. But why doesn't it place it there? That's a good question, Hagney. The reason is I have to select this bitmap, double-click it, and the trick is to click this button, Show Shaded Material in Viewport. It defaults to not show that in the viewport. Click it. Oh, why isn't it doing that? Oh, there, it did do it. It just took a while to update. And now you can see my little guy, and you can see this red symbol here on the bitmap indicating that, yes, it's showing it. And the other thing I want to do here is twirl this little button here just to make this a little bit more compact in my editor, in my slate viewer. Okay, there we go. All right, there's step one. Now I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to show you this doesn't quite look right. So he's squished a little bit, and this is where I wasn't sure, like, this can't be the same size as his body because I've got his arms here. So I wasn't sure how wide this plane needed to be. So I'm going to go to the Modify tab with my plane selected and just drag my spinner for my width up until it looks about right. That's probably a good size for Robert. I'm going to go back into my material editor, which is down here. I'm just going to click this little button to bring that back up. And what I'm going to do is I can copy and paste these. I can just select these right here, hit Command C, Command V. I hope I can. Maybe I can't. I was assuming I could because that would make so much sense. Okay, well, can I duplicate this? I can't? Oh, well, 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 what do you know? Okay, then I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to my multi-sub, double-click my reference multi-sub object, reference planes. There. And I'm going to click none for number 2. That's fine. I'm going to create a standard material, double-click it, bring this down here. I can twirl this up if I want to. Double-click that to bring up its properties in this little window over here, and again click on the diffuse little gray box. By the way, what we're doing here, if you twirl down maps at the very bottom, diffuse color, it says no map. If we click this, that's the same thing as coming all the way up here and clicking, where are you? The little gray box under diffuse. So let's do that. Go to bitmap, click on side. And once again, remember this button we need to do, show shaded material in viewport. And that should work. There we go. I don't know why that's so weird. Okay, so now I have 2 images. I've got a side and a front, and that should work. Any face associated with the number 1 is going to show the front. Any face that has a value of number 2 will show the side. Let's go ahead and see how that works. I'm going to just close the material editor, and now I'm going to hold down Alt and middle mouse button and move my mouse, and that's how we twirl around through the scene. Some people like to use this little box on the right corner. I personally don't like using that, but you know, a lot of students do. Okay. I'm going to keep the grid on here for now. If you don't see your grid, tap the G button. The G button toggles the grid on and off. And what I want to do is select this plane. And what I want you to do now is take your 3 fingers and your left hand, your ring finger, middle finger, pointer finger, those 3 fingers, put them on W, E, and R. Your fingers are going to get really comfortable toggling the W, E, R keys because those are the hotkeys for move, rotate, and scale. We're not going to scale anything. We're not going to move anything just yet. So tap the E button with your middle finger. And we're not going to rotate it yet. We need to do a couple things first. If you come up here, just make sure your angle snap tool is enabled. It should be blue. It's this little angle here with a little magnet. It is enabled. Great. I want you to right-click it. Right-clicking any of these snaps up here brings up this little window, and it's got options. It'll come to options, and it'll say, hey, under General, what is my angle snap? It's going to snap to 5 degrees. If you want to just change that to maybe 10 degrees, whoops, just make it a little bit more obvious, that's fine. I might do that. There's no save button. You just click X, okay? Now I could rotate this just by left-clicking and dragging it, and you can see that it'll snap the yellow little buttons, or the yellow display will show you what you're rotating it around, and that's 90 degrees. But I don't want to do that. What I want to do is hold down the Shift button. Shift. With the Shift held down, now left-click and drag it along this particular axis, and that will create a copy. Yep, I can call it plane 2, or you can call it left plane. Now, if you didn't do that, I'm going to hit Command Z. If yours looks like this, whoa, if yours is all the way around, I want you to, number one, don't get too sad, but just cancel that and don't do it. Look at these lines in the rotate gizmo. When you hover over any of them, they will highlight. Right? You only want to rotate it along this axis for right now, okay? So hover over this. Don't hover right here and accidentally click the wrong axis. Come on, guys. If you want to rotate along this axis, put your mouse exactly here. This axis, exactly there. This axis is exactly there. Don't get all close to other things. I don't know why you would do that. Hold down Shift, left click, drag it along there. Only 90 degrees. 90 degrees. Let go of your mouse button, let go of your Shift button, call this left plane. And from there, the only other things that we want to do is tap W and then move this only in the direction, like pushing it all the way this way, because we're not going to actually model like this. Some people like to. I don't. I don't think it's helpful. So notice the same thing. If I hover, I can hover just over the blue arrow here, not the tip, not the box, this portion right here in between the little squares and the tip. I could drag it up here. I don't want to do that, so hit Control Z. I want to drag it along the X direction here and select this plane and only move it in the Y direction there. Now, when I do my modeling, I can do it all here in the middle, and if I tap F, I'll just see the front view, and if I tap left, oh, I'm going to see that view. That's right. Good, I'm glad I did this. To keep this video high quality, high res, I'm going to have to stop it here, and in the next video we will solve this. Okay? Alright. See you later. Bye.